Today, we get to hear from a father of seven, a fellow podcaster, and a man with a very interesting nickname. He is known as the Sales Whisperer. Mr. Wes Schaeffer is here today to share about how sales doesn't just happen at car lots and over negotiation tables, but it is going on continuously in our lives and our houses. I can't wait to hear him. How is sales good in areas of life that is not business or work related? How else is sales valuable in growing up?
Oh, man. So everything is sales, okay? Either you are in sales or you are being sold. And it could be something as simple as the menu and the prices at a restaurant. Who makes that menu and who sets the prices? The restaurant owner does. And why do they do that? You could argue that, it's more efficient. It creates a uniformity. So, if it's a chain, you know what to expect, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, the restaurant does it to maximize their profits.
Yep.
Okay. And so when you show up, you can order from the menu, or you can say, hey, are there any off menu items? I mean, even In-N-Out has an off menu, right? They have a secret menu.
They do. I love the secret menu.
Yeah. So you can always ask for something different. You can always ask for a substitution and ask that it not be extra, right? You say, oh, can I get a salad with that instead of fries? Yes, it's $1.50 extra. Well, you can ask that it not be extra, and maybe that waiter or waitress won't charge you for it. Okay, so everything is sales. And if you have kids, you know what I mean, right? Daddy, can I have ice cream?
My kids try to sell me all day long, every day.
All day. Can I watch a movie? Can I get on the computer? Can I play with the iPad? Can I play the Xbox? Can I go to my neighbor's house? Can I get a new bike? Can I get a puppy? Can I get more ice cream? I mean, it's all a sale. Okay. And then, smart parenting, it's funny. Smart parents are great salespeople. They don't even realize it. And the biggest, most important thing when it comes to sales is what I call, you have to get a mutually agreed upon appointment and a contract, right, before you even go in. And what I mean by that with your kids, you see it all the time. Daddy, can I watch a movie? Daddy, can I get on the computer? And you say, have you taken a shower? Have you gotten your pajamas on? Have you brushed your teeth? No, I haven't. Okay, go take a shower and brush your teeth. Get ready for bed, and you can come down and you can, play on the Xbox for 30 minutes.
And your reward is doing what you want to do, right?
Exactly. And so you're closing the sale first, and then you're presenting. Okay, so in business, people want me to come over, and I say, "Hey, Mark, I'd be happy to meet with you. Who else will be there? My Natalie, my wife will be there. Or I say, who besides you do you run things by when you make a decision like this to buy software or buy life insurance or to buy solar for your home? Who else besides you do you run this by?" Mm-hmm. So it's a nice way of saying who's the decision maker. All right, but I can't just come out and say it. Hey, yeah, Mark, are you really the man of the house, or are you kind of a wimp and you got to run everything by the little lady?
I might be offended by that.
Exactly. I mean, you can't say that, right? But a man doesn't want to have his manhood challenged. Oh, it's all me. Smart men go, dude, you better run that by my wife because I don't buy new toilet paper without her input. Right, but it's all in how you present it. So, who besides you, or who do you bounce these ideas off of when you are considering refinancing your home, or buying solar, or getting a new pest control company? You say anything related to the house. I run it by my wife. Maybe on investments, right? My father is a CPA, so I like him to look over my investments before I make a decision. Or, my next door neighbor is a stockbroker and he looks over everything. Okay, so now I know who else I need to have in that meeting. So then I'd say, look, I'm going to show up, and if they're not there, I'm going to leave behind a bunch of brochures, and nothing's really going to make sense because it's a lot of information. So rather than repeat things, What would it take to get your wife or your dad or your next door neighbor to meet at the same time so I can just answer all the questions at once? Okay, I'm going to try to close for that right now before I show up. Okay, so it's the exact same thing. And then depending on what I have, if I've really positioned it well, like ice cream or, the new Xbox game or whatever, because your kid really wants to play that game, because they really want ice cream, right? They'll go clean up the dishes and wipe down the countertops and clean the floor in the kitchen so they can have some ice cream.
Yeah.
So it's all in how you position it, right? So if you can create it to where you are in demand, okay, and it may even be the perception that you're in demand, and get them to think that, then they'll act the way you want them to act. And all you're looking for in that meeting is to have an open and honest dialogue. No is okay. As long as you hear it early in the conversation. I don't want to wine and dine you and court you for 6 months only for you to say, oh, you know what? I don't have buying approval. You got to go to another person, and that's going to be another 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
No way. I want to hear that now. That's all sales is.
So finding your decision maker and then figuring out what it will take to motivate the decision maker to do what you want them to do, to steer them in the right direction.
Well, you're always trying to steer them in that direction. Now, the underlying truth of all of this is that whatever it is you're selling is good for them, right? It's beneficial. You're not just manipulating, right? You're not selling, trampolines and pogo sticks to senior citizens, right? Unless it's part of their physical therapy rehab. And in that case, you're probably selling it to their doctor or their physical therapist. So assuming you're speaking to the right people, that have a need for what it is you offer, you need to be persuasive, right? And quite often, the client doesn't even know the ramifications of not taking action. They don't know how much they are exposed. Okay. If they did, they would have already bought what you offer.
Interesting.
Okay. Because think about it. I don't know all the stats, but tens of thousands of people die of heart attacks every year, right? How many of those people would be alive if there was an app for that, right? If the doctor could send a text message to you that says, hey, Mark, yeah, your third aorta or whatever, the flippity flop on the top of your heart on the right side is 90% blocked. I've got an ambulance on the way. They're going to pick you up. Go ahead and pack a bag. Tell your wife, and we're going to get that cleared up though. And you'll be home by the weekend. How many people would do that, right? But people don't know that they're at risk until it's too late. And so, that's an extreme case. But what about your website? How many people will have their website, they'll lose power today or get a virus, and years of data will be lost?
Yep.
And from that point on, they will become storage and backup wizards.
Yep.
They will learn what a RAID is. They will have uninterrupted power supplies. They will have off-site cloud redundancy as well. They will become gurus, but it's only after. So if you sell that type of service, if you sell emergency backups and things like that, you owe it to your clients to be persistent, to cut through the clutter, to make them wake up and say, you know what? Get off your fantasy football for 5 minutes. Stop looking at your old girlfriend on Facebook to see if she got fat, okay? And pay attention to the storage issue, because you are about to get crushed. Not only will you lose your work and have to rebuild, your business, you're going to lose pictures, from your childhood and maybe from your parents, and things you will never be able to replace if you don't listen to me for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So you owe it to them to learn how to sell.
And persistence is really valuable for sales. I figured that out in the dating world, that a lot of times you will get a no And it actually isn't a no. It's, I want to see how persistent you actually are.
Yeah, I mean, Natalie said you like called her like 897 times in 3 days. Is that true?
Certainly not. But it did take some persistency to close that sale, shall we say.
Too funny.
Thank you for your time, Wes. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any other websites or anything else that you want to mention?
Oh, man. Just visit. They can find everything from thesaleswhisperer.com. Pretty much everything else is linked to from there. So just head on over there and kick your shoes off and stay a while.
If you like this episode, help us out and spread the word. Share with 3 friends you care about, or at least leave a podcast review by going to wisdomfromdads.com/iTunes. Click on the reviews tab and then write a review. This is a new podcast, so subscriptions and reviews are super important to us for helping people to find us and to love it. Speaking of love, if you're on Twitter, go to wisdomfromdads.com/love, and we have a super easy way to share some Twitter love. That's it for today. Next week, we're going to have Wes again here to complete this with, when you're in sales, sometimes you telegraph the exact issue that's going to cost you the sale. And since now we know sales is happening continuously, this could be with your kids in your house when you're telling them to eat their peas or to go to bed. And so this is extremely valuable information on how to get around this issue. Until next week, when we bring that to you, this show was provided by ScheduleMax Online Scheduling, which all my guests schedule through, and I happen to be co-founder of the company. Have a great week.